Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name is Amanda and in today's video we are going to be doing a marble foil ombre look. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. As always, all of the products I've used will be listed in the description box below, but I thought I would show you guys the main ones. So our base colour in this set and the colour we're going to be using for our ombre look is the beautiful blush. Now blush is a really pretty colour for spring. Then of course, because we're going to be applying foils, we're going to be using the Kiki London foil gel. And then of course, here are the beautiful foils. So I believe these are called tie-dye marbles, but I will double check. And as you can see, they've got a range of different marble effects, but I really wanted to use the top row in this set of nails. As always, I will be using my trusty stripe liner brush for a neat cuticle application. And then for any kind of ombre, I always make sure I'm going to have that ombre brush to hand. And then I wanted this set to have a matte finish, so we're going to use the Kiki London No Wipe Matte Top Coat. So let's jump into the design. Now to start off with, we are going to do our base and we're going to do one coat of blush for this. This is going to give the foils a little bit of a base colour underneath, and then it's going to help when we come to do our ombre that the nail bed area does already have one coat of colour down. Now if you was working on yourself or a client, you would do all of your prep and your base coat first before coming in with your colour coat. Now, usually when I'm doing any kind of foil design, I would recommend using a colour underneath your foils that's similar to the foil that you're going to be using. But for this particular design, that would have been tricky, as it kind of would have meant having to ombre a color, and it also would have meant using 4 different colors. So I kind of just thought I would stick with the base color, and because the foils are a marble design, it should work anyway. Now when it comes to applying this layer of gel polish, I'm keeping it nice and thin. We just want this as simply your one coat of color. Now I like to take my bottle brush and apply a majority of that product with the bottle brush, but I won't stress about getting too close to that cuticle or sidewall area with the bottle brush, because I will use my strap liner brush for this. Now of course, depending on the nail beds you are working on, you might find it easier to do the entire nail with your bottle brush, but I do feel as though if you're a beginner or if you're working on anyone with particularly small nail beds, it really helps to use that stripe liner brush, because you're able to have a lot more control over the gel polish and get it really nice and close and neat around that cuticle and sidewall area. And then of course, if you do still happen to hit the skin or the cuticles with your gel polish, I like to come in and just wipe this off using a little bit of alcohol and the angled nail art brush. So as you can see here, especially, I'm not applying this too thick. When it comes to my first coat of colour, I actually usually apply this quite thin, because you get the full opacity of the colour and it looks a lot more even when you come in and apply that second coat of colour. Now of course, we are working over nail tips, so these are already white or a natural shade, so this might look slightly different if you was working over the real nail bed, but even still, nail beds come in all different colours, so sometimes that can affect how a colour looks, and that's why different shades, especially I find of pink and nudes, suit different clients better. For example, there might be certain colours that look nicer on darker skin tones than others do. But I do like to keep this nice and thin, like I said, because with that first coat of colour, we're not stressing about the opacity, we're just getting that first layer down. Now with the stripe liner brush, I find this just perfect for going around those cuticle areas. You can see here, you're able to get super close. And then I do just feather this down just to make sure it's blending nicely into that gel polish, but it will self-level anyway. Now that we've done that first coat of colour, I'm going to pop this in to cure for 30 seconds. And how beautiful is blush? She is one of my absolute favourite pinks. Then we're going to come in and apply our foil gel. Now normally if we're applying foils, we're applying them to the entire nail, but when you're doing an ombre design, you want to kind of just apply your foil gel where you want your foils to go. So I want these to blend back into that natural nail bed, so I'm applying my foil gel down just at the tip of the nail, and then taking my ombre brush, I'm blending it back. Now of course, it's not going to necessarily blend the foil, but we will create that blend with our gel polish after. So once we've cured the foil gel, I'm going going to take a little piece of one of the coloured foils from that pack I showed you at the start of the video, and I'm going to start pressing and rubbing this down using a combination of both my thumb and fingers and the silicone tool. I really find the silicone tool helpful over quite curved nails, so if you've built up an apex or anything like that, because when you're working over the curved part of the nail, you can sometimes end up with creases in your foils, and this will be noticed when you pull your foil back. So by going over the foil with the silicone tool, it helps ease out any of those creases, and it really helps to make sure that you've got good contact between your foil and your foil gel before you start pulling that foil off. Now with this particular one, I'm just going in around a few areas, especially around those side walls, and just making sure we've got good application with that foil. I would always recommend very slowly pulling your foil back, because in this way, if you need to reapply it, you can reapply it exactly where it's needed. So once again, we're going to move on to the next nail and apply our foil gel. Now when it comes to applying that foil gel, you want to keep it nice and thin. You do not need to apply it thickly. A little bit goes a long way. It does require a 30-second cure in the Kiki London LED lamp, so I've cured that for 30 seconds, and then I like to apply my foils immediately over that foil gel when it comes out of the lamp. And that's why on this design you're seeing me do one nail at a time, because I just find that if you apply the foil gel as soon as it's come out of the lamp, whilst it still feels ever so slightly warm, I get better adhesion with the foils. However, with foils, they are a very finicky thing, and sometimes people find different things work better for them. So if you find that it actually works better for you leaving your foil gel for a few seconds before applying your foil, what you can actually do is do this step with the foil gel on all 4 of the nails and then pop them into cure and then start applying your foils. But I have just always found it a little bit easier to do it this way. So once again, when it comes to pressing down that foil onto the cured foil gel, you want to really make sure that you're giving it a really good rub, especially along those side walls and the free edge of the nail. This way you're just going to make sure that it applies beautifully and you don't have any gaps. Of course, if you do have any gaps, you can come back in and fill that in. And also another thing with this particular design, we're wanting that foil to blend back a little bit. Now, as I said, it's not going to create a blend because it's foil, it is going to have a harsh line, but you can rectify this by just making sure there isn't that harsh line there, either by blending back your foil gel, which you'll see then this is going to grab on to the foils in different areas and you're not going to have like a straight sharp line where that foil ends, or you can just come in and press it on in certain areas just so that you're giving that jagged effect, which works brilliantly with the marble foils because we're going for that whole marble wavy look anyway. Again, it's the kind of design that is going to depend on the foil you're working with and you're using, but I've done foil ombres with quite a few different foils and I always find that you can usually get it to work for that particular design, and it does usually end up looking quite pretty. I think it's quite a unique look and it's a great way of using your foils rather than just doing plain basic full cover foil application. So once we've applied all the foils, what I'm doing here is just coming in with a little bit of alcohol and removing any foil that I don't want on the nail. So if you've happened to transfer a few little particles where you don't want them down on that nail bed area, just remove that with a little bit of alcohol. Or like this one, I felt as though the foil was just coming a little bit too far down, so I just removed it, and it does help blend it in as well. Now we're going to move on to creating the ombre over the foil. So on the first coat of this, I'm going to come in with blush down at that cuticle area, taking it just over where that foil ended. And then on the tip of the nail, I'm going to use a top coat. You can use top or base coat for this. Both will work exactly the same. You just need a clear layer. And the reason you need that clear layer is just so you have something to kind of water down your nude or your pink shade, something that it's going to blend with, because obviously it's not going to blend over the foil as such. So by using a base coat, a top coat, or I've even used blooming gel for this as well, it just softens that line where your blush is ending and starts fading it out over the foil. So then what I like to do is come back in once we've got that ombre. It's not perfect because we're going to do it in 2 coats, but once you're happy with that ombre, that's when I'm then going to come in with a stripe liner brush and neaten everything up. I didn't do this beforehand because you're moving the gel polish around quite a lot when you're doing this step. So once again, getting it as close to the cuticle as possible and making sure to bring that colour down over that edge where the foil ends, because you want to create this hidden ombre look. So this is going to give you a little bit of coverage. Now this set is a very trust the process set of nails. Until that second coat of the ombre is done, the blend is not going to look perfect. So don't stress how it looks on this first coat. So once again, we've then applied our clear top coat at the tip of the nail, and then we're blending these 2 colours together. Now it's very easy to blend a colour, especially one of these more pinky natural shades, with a clear gel polish, because all you're basically doing is watering down that colour in the centre of the nail and kind of creating a transition between the pink and then going into clear at the very tip of the nail. And then once again, we're going to neaten that up at the cuticle area using the stripe liner brush. You can use your stripe liner brush at this point as well to perfect that ombre a little bit more as well, especially if you wanted to pull down in vertical strokes. So I did do this to all 4 of the nails, and then we popped that in to cure, and they are looking a little bit more like an ombre, but just not perfect. I want a little bit more coverage. So because I want a little bit more coverage and I want to be able to cover up that harsh line where the foils ended, although it's not as harsh as a straight line, you can still kind of see where it's ended. So what I'm doing on this coat is, rather than blending with the clear, I'm kind of just going to blend the colour with the inhibition layer that the top coat has left behind. So this is why I would recommend to use base coat or blooming gel, because it leaves a bit of a tacky layer. But there is one of the Kiki London top coats that leaves a tacky layer as well. So that's what I've used here. And then what you can see I've done is I've applied blush, got it nice and neat at the cuticle area, and then we're just very gently blending this one. We're not moving that gel polish around too much. We're kind of just gently fading it over that fade we created on the first coat, and it's just giving us that little bit more coverage. So it's making it look as though that marble foil is hidden under the pink gel polish that little bit more. So once again, I'm going to do the exact same on this one here. Here you can see this is where I'm kind of using that stripe liner brush to pull some of the blush down and start covering it up over that foil. And because they're marble foils, the design runs anyway. But then I do still like to come in with the ombre brush and just blend everything just to make sure it's all looking nice and soft. And because this is a layered design, it can end up a little bit bulky. So what I've done is, once again, when I've done that on all 4 of the nails and cured it, because the sidewalls might be a little bit bumpy, might feel a little bit uneven, I'm then going to take my file and just very gently file the sidewalls and the tip of the nail. This step is predominantly being done on the sidewalls, because when you're going backwards and forwards with your ombre brush, especially when you've done a few layers, we had that first layer, then we had the foil gel, then we've done 2 coats to create our ombre, you lose some of the crispness to the sidewalls of the nail, especially when working on longer nails. So very, very gently, I'm just using the 180 grit side just to kind of score along those edges and get that nice, straight, sharp, crisp shape back. Now, of course, if you do any work on a gel polish with your file, you want to make sure that you're removing any dust that's left behind, just using an alcohol wipe. Then once we've done that, we're now ready to come in and top coat. Of course, if you wanted to keep these glossy, you could come in with a glossy top coat, but I really love a matte set of nails in the spring, and I really felt as though these marbles would look really pretty with a matte finish. So I'm going to come in with a thin coat of the Kiki London No Wipe matte top coat, and this gives off a really beautiful, soft, dreamy matte finish. If you haven't already tried it, I would highly recommend giving it a go. Once we've applied this, we're going to pop that in to cure, and then I will leave a clip of the finished result. So this is a really simple design to do, but you can do it with absolutely any foils, so you can create so many different designs. So do let me know in the comments below what you thought of this design, and if you have tried it. If you haven't already tried it, let me know if it's a design that you would give a go. If you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment below, and hit that subscription button if you haven't already. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.